My role is normally in marine conservation, and so therefore I work normally down in the seagrasses and weeds. But about 2 years ago, the UK COP was announced as an all-male team. And when we heard about that, we thought, oh, you know, this is terrible. But then we realized that in my work downstream, if the decisions up at the very top have not got integrity, it's going to affect all our lives and everything that we do. So we really had this urgent need to move upstream. So I'm based in Switzerland. We have spent here nearly 2 weeks at the COP delegation, trying to get more women at the high-level negotiating levels for COPs and on boards. But I have also, with me this evening, I'd like to introduce Zakira Bakhshi, who is the invisible, the externality, who's not included here at COP. She's from Afghanistan, and I'd like you to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm Zakira Bakhshi, but you can call me Zakira Bakhshi. I'll answer. I'm a social and climate advocate from Afghanistan. I also work as global ambassador with Youth for Nature. I'm studying at Yale University in the United States, and I'm just a freshman planning to study political science, but I also have a very great penchant for astronomy and earth studies. Maybe I can do double major. Well, this may not be such an exception here, but it is a very great exception in Afghanistan. Considering the current circumstances in Afghanistan, that women cannot go to school and they do not have access to education, it is such a great exception. It is a very big exception. Even my participation at COP is an exception. I do remember the first day when I came to this place, and I had a walk and a kind of tour with one of my colleagues around the Blue Zone, and I saw people going to their communities, kind of connecting with their communities, going to their pavilions, communicating with people from their own community, from their own country, and communicating with each other, more importantly, in their own language. I feel, deep inside, I feel so weird because I'm sure that I was happy because I was at COP, and then I feel so weird because I couldn't find any pavilion from my country. I couldn't find any person from my country. I couldn't find any person to speak to them, and they are from my country. I couldn't find my community, and I couldn't find the community where I could feel really belong to. There are so many communities that I can go to them, and then I can talk to them. But talking to your people from your country is something else. It is, believe me, something else. You only can understand it once you do not have the opportunity to have it. You will only know the value when you do not have it. So yeah, it was such a good day. I was just wandering around, but I also feel this weird thing deep inside. That day I realized that to what extent my community is underrepresented. That day I realized that to what extent my nation is underrepresented and people are underrepresented in this kind of international platforms where it is international, but it is not international. To talk about my country, Afghanistan is the marginal contributor to climate change, and it is still the most affected community and the most affected and susceptible community, and also it is the ill-equipped to deal with the consequences. The things are getting worse, this environmental degradation, this land degradation, environmental crisis, along with all the inflation and drought in the country in Afghanistan, along with the recent humanitarian crisis after the fall of Kabul, is only adding to the Afghan misery and further fuel conflict, mass displacement, child marriages, and child labor. Things are getting more complicated and more complex as Taliban, who are who are the extremist group and who have long been in the terrorist watch list. They're ruling the country and they do not let women and girls to go to school, to get education, to access to free and fair education. I tell this, Afghanistan in the 21st century is the only country that do not let women and girls to go to school. That is unacceptable. I say this to people and they say that that is so sad, but that is so fake. That if it was said, you could have done something, you would have done something, but you're not doing anything, and the world is still silent. We do not have any delegation here in Afghanistan, at least to speak about the climate change in the country. So that is how people are affected in Afghanistan, and that is where I feel really belong to. So my community is where it is really underrepresented, but I just wish that at least I could raise the voice of my people in this sort of platforms. And thank you so much for inviting me here.
So thank you so much. It's so important to understand why this movement is so important. Farhana Yamin, who was featured in the movie, says that those affected by the decisions affecting climate should be making it. And at the moment, we're still not seeing that. So, women are fighting for change, but they have to start by changing it within their own culture. But that's very easy to say, but what I'd love to hear is how, I know women are not victims, but I know that they're put in situations which put them in situations where they have no control. That doesn't make them a victim, but it makes them in a very constrained situation. How would you see a vision in Afghanistan and beyond, how that could go beyond? What would you like to see happen there? What would you like to happen here to make a difference in Afghanistan?
Well, I would like to frame this with saying that just imagine yourself being in your home for a single day. You spend your whole time in your home for one day, so it feels so good. It feels so relaxing. You chill and you go around, watch movies. That is so nice. The second day you do the same. The third day you do the same. The fourth day you do the same. The fifth day, believe me, and please don't tell me that you want to still stay at home doing the same thing. You just want to go out, do something else, do something different. But imagine that there is still a country in the world that they cannot do that. Women in Afghanistan, they're not able to go to school. They cannot access to education. They cannot work. They cannot raise their voice. They cannot really participate in, not only in government, but they cannot participate in local community. They do not have the right to do so. So this is a very good example. This is a very good way to imagine what is happening in Afghanistan. Imagining yourself just being surrounded by walls and doing nothing but watching TV. So that is, watching TV is something good. It feels so good, but not all the time. What I envision, what is my vision of the world is to be equal. But when we talk about equality, we need to consider the developing countries. We need to consider the most vulnerable communities, the most susceptible communities. Communities like Afghanistan, communities like Iran. At COP, we speak about equality. We speak about justice. We speak about climate adaptation, we speak about climate education, but there is a country in the world that do not let women and girls to go to school. Come on, please understand this. It has been more than a year. It has been more than a year. The Taliban are ruling the country and they do not let women to go to school. They cannot get education, but the world is silent. There is no mention of Afghanistan. There is literally little to zero to little attention, practical attention towards Afghanistan. I went to several events so far and I saw people speaking about developing countries, the most susceptible communities, climate education, but please do something for climate education. When we want climate change, we need women on the ground. We need women on the negotiating table. But not only that, we do not have any representation from Afghanistan. We don't have any delegation, youth delegation from Afghanistan. Not only that, we do not have any woman delegation from Afghanistan. We do not have any youth advocates here. We do not have any pavilion because we do not have any government. The government is not able to provide money to have like this fancy, beautiful places, pavilions, but I'm sure that there are a lot of climate advocates who needs to be supported. Thank you.
So how to take it from something that is so dramatic and so extreme? We can't solve everything, but I think at the beginning we have to start at the top. And at the moment, for the last 27 COPs, only 5 have had female presidents. Why are we asking for women? Women bring a diverse form of thinking, but women are just the tip of the iceberg. It's the point that bursts the balloon that brings everyone else in. We need inclusivity. Farhana also mentioned that. It is essential that we therefore appeal to the men in the room to step forward and step aside for women, or push them up, or make sure that their voices are heard. In particular, and with She Changes Climate, we've synthesized it to a simple ask in the hopes that it will be listened to. And that is really that we're more powerful when we are both women and men working together in all their diversity. And we have to build a movement for collaborative climate action. So we're asking for co-presidents at all COPs going forward, mixed gender, man and woman, and to preside over every future COP, and at least 50% of women on all COP negotiating teams. It really is the time now. We really are running out of time. In the movie that we saw, since that movie was made, which was earlier this year, the Amazon has gone from being a carbon sink to a carbon source. And that's a tipping point. We've seen when I was in March, I had to go from one side of the planet to the other, sadly. But that was at a time when both Antarctic was 30 degrees centigrade above its normal temperature. These are things that are so worrying, and we can sit there and say it's fine, but it's not. We've seen floods in Pakistan. We've seen floods in Nigeria. We're seeing more and more extremes. The feedback loops are getting stronger. So therefore, it is really, really important that we move forward and bring more women to the top. And I'm really asking here in this room for men with divine feminine to really look around and help this. And that can just translate into, if you walk into a meeting and you see no women there, ask where they are and ask for the next meeting that there are women. And if they are there, give equal time so that they can speak and listen to what they say. And then bring in other minority groups. We are the largest minority group. So at that point, I am open for 1 or 2 questions, if anyone would like to ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Abu Bakr from Morocco. I'm very happy to say that you have like a woman minister of energy. And I was just saying to the beautiful lady next to me that like in Morocco we do have like more women engineers than men, and there is like an indication that that there is like more active role like in women ever from like a Muslim developing country in North Africa, and that's really promising. What I have is not like a question, but just like a remark from like a man in this event. I just want to say that like there is like a crucial role that women has to play in this like in this climate crisis and in all like the challenges that we face in the world, because we have to agree that like men and women like perceive things like differently and in a very complementary manner, and the fact that like a man or like men group has to lead this is like unfair and it's not smart. So like to be smart is like to be like more inclusive like to women participation, and that's why I appreciate the point that you said that there's like if there's like a meeting, if there's like a decision making, then it's very important like to take like women opinion on that, and this is not like a grant or a favor. This is like a smart move, and you should be grateful for that in order to make decisions. And even like as a parent, like the best decisions, they are like decisions made like between like the father and the mother, negotiated, and that's why I definitely like agree on your proposal that we should have some kind of presidency. I mean, men and women, and even like in the participant number, I mean, we should be like more careful like on on the ratio of participation and be like more inclusive in order like to address in a very smart and practical manner like the challenges that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to reply by saying that, biodiversity is rich with variety. And at the moment, we have a very one-dimensional societal thinking. And that needs to change as well. I'm afraid we're running out of time. So at the very end, I'd like to thank you, Zakira, and also WaterBear and Kite Insights for this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.